are those of the host, guest, and participants, and they are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcast, management, or advertisers of the network. Can, but does not necessarily promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and they are not intended to treat or diagnose and/or claim to cure any disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. All music is purchased and owned by LGA Broadcasting.
I got the windows rolled down, got the radio up, and I'm heading out of Vegas tonight. And it's 1:30 on a 4-day run, and the desert is a welcome sight. I can see you there in that dress you wear, and it's keeping my foot on the gas. I drink a gallon of Joe just to make it back home and hold you in my arms at last. There's a full moon shining, lighting up the highway like a beacon to you. If I can make it on time, past a moonlit state lamp, and roll a diesel right on through. Well, my lids are heavy, there's a blue and white Chevy, and it seems these are right on my heels. And I'm leaning in the bar store and can't drive this slow, yeah, you know how it feels.
You're listening to Glenn Leary on UFO Talk Radio from the LGA Broadcasting.
From the high desert in Great America Southwest, broadcasting live deep in the desert of Nevada, the Glenn Leary Show.
Yes, and may I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. We are live here in beautiful downtown Good Springs, which is deep in the desert of Nevada. Yes, to all my good friends out there, may I say hello to all the broadcasters affiliates out there, small stations, micro broadcasters. We are night drivers, of course. We bid you hello. KPFF, pull up, we say hello to you also. KBHR 57 AM, yes, Sitka, Alaska, we're with you. To the Silent Key, W60 Baker. You know who that is. And to all my ham operators, 73s to you guys. Hello to K6RCL. We are live. I am Glenn Leary. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's so nice to have you guys listening tonight, every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. And we sure have a lot of fun on this show. We have all sorts of guests, from UFOs to ghost hunters to Bigfoot, you name it. The phenomena stuff out there, what's happening, the unknown. Yeah, it's all here. And we do appreciate you listening. Tonight's guest I'm going to have on, and we have her on the line right now. Her name is June Ahern, and she is a psychic and reader, and understand a psychic, paranormal psychic investigator, and she has a lot to talk about in that realm. So we do welcome you on the show. June, how are you? June, you with us?
Yes.
All right. Yes. Welcome to the show. And boy, how'd you get started doing what you're doing?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, how'd you get started doing what you're doing?
Well, I had an interest in it, just from the one step beyond. This is before anybody was probably even born, TV show. I had a near-death experience, and after my near-death experience, I began to know things about people, and without knowing anything about them beforehand. So everything came after that to me, and began to see spirits from the other side that have already gone. Mm-hmm. That's how I got started. Then I just kind of rolled from then on in.
Have you seen many spirits?
Have I seen spirits?
Yes. Have you seen many of them?
I've seen lots of spirits. Lots and lots of spirits. I over the years, seeing spirits, doing readings for people, and then eventually holding seances. And
you do readings with folks, I do
private. Well, I did. I'm retired from private reading.
Mm-hmm. And during the time that you did these readings with these with folks, guests of yours, did their loved ones come back to them? Did you talk to the loved ones with them? Did you channel them, or how's that work?
Well, I would guess you would say I do channel the spirit's messages. That would be probably the best way of looking at it. And people would ask. It doesn't mean that every spirit that someone asked for actually came to the reading, because it's just like anybody else. As I always say, you can call them up, but they don't have the answer.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So the spirits come through, and these are people I don't know really anything about them that would come to me. And I don't know anything about their spirits, and I'd rather not know anything about it, because that could cloud my own mind. You know, people like you to say usually what they want you to say, and I have to say whatever I'm receiving.
Let me see. So, do you hear their voice when they talk to you?
Well, sometimes I will hear a voice in my mind.
Okay.
Sometimes I will see it more as a gesture, and then I have to interpret it. It's not always easy to interpret what the spirit may be saying. It's kind of like a guessing game with them, pantomime. Like you go to a foreign country and neither of you are speaking the same language. You stop and ask for directions.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a gesture, it's a thought, it's hearing, it's all the different what we call the clairs: clairvoyancy, clairaudio, clairsentient. You know, how you receive information. I prefer them to be in my mind. I'm not real pleased when spirits actually manifest in front of me.
Materialization, you mean?
Yeah, even I don't like that.
Wow.
You know, where they actually show up and you're like, oh no.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. Now, when they appear to you, do they appear old or young, or how's that work? They say you return back to your youngness, younger life.
Well, when my understanding from what I got from spirit, when you cross over, you go to the other side, if you want to call it heaven or whatever you have, nirvana, however you look at it, that you can appear younger. There have been people where I've said, oh, I see a young man. He's in kind of a uniform. It looks to me from like the 1940s or whatever. And they'll say, well, I want to ask about my grandfather. He was 90 when he died. And I said, well, he's not showing up as 90.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so I would describe how he looked or what he was wearing. And then they'd say, oh, that's from an old photograph.
Yeah.
That's how he looked at that time.
So I could appear as a younger person if I came back.
You can appear as a younger person if that's how you're feeling. Remember, you're only as old as you think you are.
Ooh, I like that.
You know, you don't have to be 90 years forever on the other side.
Right. I get that. So let me ask you this. Gosh, now you've done the readings and stuff. You've done some investigation work with the police before?
I have done through family. How I got involved was the family of a victim, a murder, or sometimes it was a missing victim. One of the cases that was missing, and then she later was found murdered.
Wow.
The family would tell the peace officers, and then they in time would want to talk to me. They didn't rush to me. You know, there's a lot of differences between the police and working with psychics. You know, it's not just one-sided. A lot of times psychics or mediums don't want to necessarily work with the police either.
Yes, that's interesting.
Because it's a whole different thing, the way they're questioning you.
Yeah.
You begin to feel like maybe you are the murderer the way they question you.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. Let me ask you this. But the spirits, would they feel like they're being pushed upon too much on some of that questioning?
You know, Phil, I'm having a very hard time hearing. The connection is not real clear.
Yeah, I apologize about that.
Yeah.
Been working on that all day long. I was just asking you, the spirit, do they feel that they're being put out by being asked these questions?
The spirits ask me questions?
Yeah, I mean, when you asked the spirit a question, did you who murdered you? Would they come out and say, John Friend, whoever did? I mean,
Well, no. They very well could give you their perception of what they were experiencing at that time without necessarily pointing the finger and saying, well, go arrest so-and-so. He lives down on such and such a street. And he took me here. The one case was very, very, very clear. Even things that the police held from the family, from anybody, and then I received and got that information, even the name of the street, which pretty much even I was surprised.
Oh, really?
I don't think that, I don't know what's going to come through. I don't really know what's valid. I'm going to do the best I can to give the message over, to relate, and be able to give the message over. So it's not a pleasant experience to work with a person that has been viciously murdered.
Oh,
it's a very unpleasant experience.
Imagine not. God. Gosh. When you get these spirits that come to you, have you ever heard of a spirit box?
A spirit guide?
A spirit box. A spirit box.
No, I don't think so.
Have you seen that? They got these boxes now electronically, and what they do, they talk to the spirit through the box, and it comes through different frequencies on an AM lower band.
Huh.
And it's yes, oh, okay, no, yeah, it's all very sporadic type of thing. And I don't know if I believe them or not either, but a good psychic to me must be better than that box, But so you have done many investigations with police. Did you find the person that whatever it's the missing child or whatever?
One of my most important cases, absolutely, the guy ended up doing many years, and my understanding about maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that he finally was released after 27 years or whatever. The other case I worked on, the spirit kept indicating about they kept showing the husband, and that's who the police were looking at. It was not the husband. It turned out to be somebody years and years later. I'm talking 30 years later or so. Somebody who was in prison, and they got him through his DNA.
Wow.
Yeah, and although when she was being murdered, it was a vicious, vicious murder.
Oh, gosh.
And, it turned out that she was having a really bad divorce with the husband. So the spirit kept indicating about the husband. I didn't know anything about her or the family or whatever. All this I found out later on. But
you were right on the button on that one, huh?
No, the other case I was, but not this one. That was the one that I always felt really bad about. The police and the family and me all thought it was the ex-husband.
Wow.
And it turned out to be somebody years later that was in prison.
There you go. My gosh.
So that's the difficulty, and not encouraging people to rely on everything a medium is getting, because it truly is like a jigsaw puzzle. It's very difficult to get all that information and sort it all out.
Well, now that you are retired doing that, you're doing more investigation work?
The investigation work, the paranormal work?
Yes.
The paranormal work, it was a lot of fun. And the Haunted Bay.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about?
Yes,
yeah.
I am.
Yeah, it was, I got a call from a woman that had come for a reading. About 4 or 5 years before she got back in touch with me, and said she was doing a project for school and was working with a paranormal investigation crew. Did I want to come and be the medium? I asked her, well, what are you looking at? She said, the Zodiac. We're going to go to the different place of the Zodiac murders.
Whoa, yes.
And I said, no, I'm going to leave that one alone. I don't want to be involved with that. And so she said, well, how about, she got back in touch with me, the Condor Club. I don't know if you know about it in San Francisco.
Tell us more.
Yeah, it was a very famous strip joint.
Oh.
The Condor Club. I said, yeah, I always wanted to go in that.
There you go.
To see what was going on in there. Nice ladies didn't go in places like that at that time.
No.
So I got to go in there and did an investigation, and because the manager of the club was very up for it. He asked for it because the place was haunted, and he and others had already picked up different spirits that were around there. So that's how it started. And then she just invited me to go on and do more. And I would say the majority of the time I enjoyed myself. There was only a few times that I was very uncomfortable with what I was picking up.
Wow. And did you get pictures of that or readings, or how'd that work with a tape recorder? Or how'd you work that one out?
That particular, the paranormal investigations, is that what you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
Yeah, that was recorded, filmed.
Mm-hmm.
And they had all the sound equipment, and I had to wear a little sound thing. And I had a difficult time where they would say, could you do that over again? Because when I'm working with spirit, it's flowing in and out. I'm not on a take.
Yeah.
I'm not an actor.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say, no, I can't do that over again. But all in all, I would say that it was a really interesting, and I would love to go in and know nothing about even where I'm going other than come and get me and take me there.
Okay. Now,
I don't want to know anything. I want to go in fresh. I want my own thoughts. I don't want you feeding me thoughts. I'm really opposed to that. And then they can do the investigation historically after.
Gotcha.
Because I like facts.
Yeah.
Just don't take me along and listen to what I say. Find out if it's historically correct.
Right. But psychics can be wrong. Really.
It's an interest of mine, and it's a lot more interesting if I can pick up things that can actually be found historically.
Have you had any spirits follow you home?
In my home?
Have you had any spirits follow you home?
Yes. And I do a lot of what you call cleansing work to keep myself clean of something like that. But unfortunately, there were a few times that didn't happen. I used to do seances years ago in my home, and I always cleaned the place out. There was only one time it was very negative that happened when my son was little. That's another whole story. But yes, I have had a few, and I've had a few contact me in the middle of the night, which I'm very irritated about that, and I would tell them how irritated I was. One time I had an attachment, and all the years I've been so careful not to have an attachment. You know what an attachment would be?
No, tell me more of that.
The attachment is an entity or an energy entity, and it will wants to invade your body. It wants to take over you. Usually it happens to people that are weak, like perhaps ill with a disease, an illness, old people, children. Then they could come and attach themselves to you and cause really a lot of havoc. I mean, at times you could think that maybe you were kind of going out of your mind.
Wow.
Mentally and physically draining. I had been on a book tour for my latest book, which is a spirit book. One event after another. I mean, it just never stopped. And I wore myself out. And I went to this group, big party, and it was very, very hard. Many of the people there came because they had family members or good friends that had been murdered or committed suicide, and they all wanted me to give them answers.
Wow.
I was so worn down, and there was such negativity in that group that I got an attachment.
Wow. Now, can this attachment make you do things?
Well, it wears you down, so you may not necessarily make you do things, but kind of taking over who you are, meaning that I became negative and down myself. I'm pretty much an optimistic person. You know, I'm really I'm not a downer at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I became depressed. It took me a while to realize I had the attachment. And then I really meditated on it and said, oh my God, I've been like that since that party, that book party.
Boy.
And they were serving alcohol too, and I asked people not to do that. I don't like to do any spirit work when there's alcohol involved. Right.
It could be not a true reading then. It would not be right.
It just, you know, if you're going to partake in the spirit, don't come drinking alcohol.
Right. Gosh. Now, do you think, I'm just want to question I have for you. can a person that's not a psychic be attached by one of these spirits and make them like hurt somebody, shoot somebody, you think?
Well, that's a delicate line to walk. Do I? Yes, absolutely. More, I would say, more people that are not psychic or trained psychic mediums. Just a layperson would have an attachment more than a psychic medium, because usually psychic mediums are quite aware of what's going around them energetically.
Mm-hmm.
And they would recognize it. But it took me a couple of weeks to recognize that attachment. If it is another person, do I think it can make them do something? So we're walking a really fine line between what would be perceived as mental illness,
Yes,
and what would be in more of the spiritual realm. I don't think they're that far apart, the psychic mind and the mental illness. Personally, knowing schizophrenics and people with bipolar, I don't think that they're that far apart. But I think it should be handled accordingly, meaning that if it is causing disruptions in a person's life where there is violence involved, then most likely the person then has to be medicated.
wow,
Treated.
interesting.
Because do I think an attachment could be attached to somebody with a already mental condition? Yes, I think it could. Absolutely. I think it would be quite easy.
Yeah, my gosh.
But that doesn't mean that all people with a particular mental challenge would have would be violent people at all.
Right. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he has a child that's, I guess, Down syndrome, and weird things were happening, and it wasn't a normancy of this child at all. So yeah, I was wondering about that. Pretty crazy stuff out there happening in this world, which is bizarre, evil, and are all spirits evil or not evil? There's good and bad in everybody, I know. But a question come up, are all spirits evil?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. The majority of those, you and I, we're spirits. We're in this physical body when we leave. We're not evil people. We don't live an evil life. I prefer to look at, when it comes to harming others, causing harm, then I look at it as entities more. They have spirit energy in them, but they're entities that are causing chaos and violence. And it kind of reminds me of some people that are living right now from the world. And so, no, very, very seldom do you get into the evilness. I love the studies that science is doing on the brain and finding out the people that do atrocities, there's something in their brain that's just not wired the same way that your or my brain is wired.
Interesting.
And I think that they attract around them tremendous amount of negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write that in the book about these infamous murderers and such that just are off the charts, and really delicately handle it, because you can't not include mental illness. You have to say, if they're mentally ill, is there a treatment?
Right.
And usually the treatment for people mentally ill is trying to keep them somewhat balanced.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people that are schizophrenic and bipolar will go off their medication, because they don't like how the medication is for them, what it does to them.
Yeah. Well, dumbs them down, apparently, to themselves, I guess. Gosh.
So as far as the evil, it's such, I don't like to bring it up too much, because people have this way of judging what is good and what is evil.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, what is really evil is when anyone causes destruction and harm to others. That there just should be no reason that they are doing it.
Right.
Others, whether it's human, animals, or whatever.
Right. Hmm. Now, what are you doing or have you done with the Winchester House?
Oh, my latest adventure. I'm actually like really high about it.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, the Winchester House in San Jose, California, is historically well known, and then the folklore around it, of course, is that Sarah Winchester was a crazy lady, and she built all these rooms so she could get away from ghosts and all of that.
Right.
So they got in touch with me a few months ago, the staff, the manager, and said, well, they were looking for mediums in Northern California. And in the research, my name came up. So I went down there to take a walkthrough to see if I picked up any spirit energy. And I got to go in rooms that aren't open to the public. So that was really cool. I mean, I love architects. I'm really like a big fan of anywhere I go in the world or whatever. I absolutely want to go and look at all the different kind of architects. So,
There's a lot of it there.
oh my God, it's incredible. I mean, absolutely stunningly beautiful and mysterious. And so, I did what they asked. I did the tour, and I picked up different entities. And what I had picked up was very much what some other mediums had picked up. And then I sent them a proposal about an idea I had of what we could do there. And then they got back to me and they asked for another meeting. And so they'd like me to come down and talk about the spiritualist movement, which was in the 19th and early 20th century, and Sarah Winchester along with it. So I'm going down to talk, and we'll see where it goes from there. Do a talk for at the Winchester House.
Now, back in the day of the century back there, were there psychics that also appeared with her, came to see her? I saw the movie and read a lot about it. Been there myself. But
you know Hollywood.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. Yeah, let's change that.
Even I had someone that, one of my murder cases is option for a movie. And I read the script, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
So the thing about Sarah Winchester that most people don't know about, it's on, people can find it, is
Right.
that she was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian.
Oh, she was.
Oh, yeah, she was a woman beyond her time. She graduated from Yale.
Wow.
She is a really fantastic, unique woman. And being in those kind of groups, Freemasonry and Rosicrucian, excuse me, she would have been very interested in the mysticism.
Right.
And I think that is more of what is happening at the Winchester House, somewhere along the line of it, to attract people there. And I don't know all the who did this and why they did it. Came out the story that, well, she built all these rooms because she's trying to get away from spirits. I just don't believe that at all.
Well, about the Winchester rifle.
Yes,
Killed all
because
those
of the
people.
Winchester, her husband, the Winchester rifle. Did she communicate with spirit? I would have to say probably. She probably did. It's not unusual for people that are training, learning, like from the Rosicrucian or the Freemasonry. They open doors to other kinds of ways of thinking.
That's
so
interesting.
I can't talk about the Masons because I'm not a Mason, so I can't say.
Right. I get that. But what about the other?
The Rosicrucian?
Yeah.
Well, I am a Rosicrucian.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, the Rosicrucian is a metaphysical scientific fellowship where you study about the cosmic. People say, well, just give it up to the universe. I hear this all the time. Well, we study the laws, the hermetic laws of vibrations and rhythms and all the different people through history, like Sir Francis Bacon and what they thought. It's not a religious group. You could be any religion you want and be a Rosicrucian. Same with Masons. So that's what we do. We study how to live a more fulfilled life by understanding how we connect to the cosmic energy, the universal energy, how it works, what's the law of attraction, all of that, but not in the way that most people look at it. They read a book on the law of attraction and think they got it. It's much deeper and much more useful when you study it in depth.
Interesting. Well, do you guys meet with a group in this religion or this
Yeah. Well,
organization?
since the pandemic, we've had to meet online, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like everybody else. Yes, we meet. Like there are different groups all over different areas. The Rosicrucian Park in San Jose, beautiful. Have you been there?
No, I have not.
If you ever get out to California, they have a fantastic Egyptian museum.
Oh, okay.
They even have mummies.
Really? Well, I'm going to check that out. That's interesting.
And they have a beautiful, incredibly sacred temple, big temple, but only members can go there usually. It's not open to the public. Fantastic library, very old books. The Rose Garden, it just takes up a huge city block, this Rosicrucian Park.
Wow.
So you have the Winchester House and you have the Rosicrucian Park all in San Jose.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Very interesting that they end up there together.
There used to be American Society of Psychics.
Yeah.
Is that part of that group?
No.
Okay.
No. Golden Dawn and all of that. There's all different kinds of groups. You've got the Odd Fellows, right?
Yeah, I was a member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they start out saying, well, we're here for the community.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to do for the community. But then there are particular lessons that you learn, but they're really for the initiate, the person that devotes himself to study.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you understand that there's a lay person,
Yeah.
and they take some ideas, and then there's a person that actually becomes a student.
Right. A practitioner also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oddfellows, boy, it's not that lodge is gone almost, but they still are around. Yeah. I'm also a member of the Elks.
Yeah, the Oddfellows, they seem to have somewhat diminished, I think, in their members.
Yeah, well, they're very old.
Yeah, they're very old, and as are the Masons are really very old.
Mm-hmm.
And more coming into when we get into the 18th century,
Right.
1700s. It comes out. People are coming out a little bit more, and I would say, why is it secretive? Well, you have to figure the enormous influence and the power that the church in the Western world is the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
What it had over people.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't come out and say, I'm in touch with the cosmic energy and I see how I'm going to manifest something. They'd be like, oh, no, you have to go through the priest, to go through the bishop,
Right.
to go through the pope.
Mm-hmm.
So the part about it being secretive, the Masons, the Rosicrucians, the Oddfellow, there's a purpose to it, why it is.
Well, that is a true. It's upstairs. Normally these lodges are, and there was a reason for that too. So yeah. Well, it was interesting when I was there involved. I'll tell you for sure. I'm not a Mason. I consider myself still an Oddfellow, but yeah, it quite interesting. And more of this is coming out with just the normalcy of not even having a type of lodge to go to. People meet in basements all over the country.
Yeah.
And I met with a man years ago, Louis J. Music, out of Tacoma, Washington. And he was a lawyer in his 80s and had this group of folks that met at 7 o'clock every Wednesday downstairs. And when he sang, what have you, and I saw materialization. Things happened. And in those days, they had the horns and other stuff, like kind of tambourine or whatever, that would float in the air. Unbelievable. And a lot of this stuff is fake, but this was real. Music would come out of nowhere. And Yeah, distant music and things you would see floating around. It was crazy. All of our shoelaces were tied together. And yeah, unbelievable. But I've never been to anything like that ever again. There are a lot of fakes out there. So,
Well, what seems to be happening now is that we're having a revival of people interested in spiritualism and the psychic mind. You know, people, even corporations are saying, use your intuition.
yeah,
Follow your intuition. And, you know, to me, it's like, yeah, we should have been taught that as kids. Follow your intuition.
yeah, gosh.
And so there is a kind of revival
Right.
going on. And perhaps it's because people are saying, wow, is this all there is? What's going to happen now?
Yeah.
I mean, every day you wake up and there's something else, right?
Yes. Right. What did you think about Edgar Casey?
I really like Edgar Casey.
Okay.
I think that he was, as they call him, the modern day prophet.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did a lot of good, and I think that he did a lot of good by awakening people and giving them something valid to explore themselves in spiritualism and the psychic mind. I think it happens like what happens to so many psychics, mediums, psychics, people with, you know, along that line, is that it's a tremendous amount of energy that's outpouring. And people want them. You know, it would be like anybody where the public's like, they want more from you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what happened to him. I think he went through the decline of just energy pouring out of him all the time. I have several of his books. I don't necessarily know if I agree with everything he says, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how he sees it. The Edgar Institute down in, is it Virginia Beach, I think, or around there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a friend that's very involved with it, and she has gotten so much out of it.
Wow. Jeez.
So I like Edgar Casey. I followed him. My acupuncturist told me when I was in my 40s, I'm in my 70s now, and she said, there'll come a point where you have to give up readings because your health's not going to be able to take it anymore.
Right.
And I didn't think about it. You know, I was like going, like, you know, doing readings and how many a week and, you know,
Right. Boy,
teaching
energy.
classes and
Yeah.
giving talks. And,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, and then all of a sudden I got to a place where, wow, I don't have that energy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have it, but it's so I gave up private readings,
Got you.
you know, and for my health, and I miss it, you know.
Yeah. What other psychics do you know of that does this type of thing that's legit?
Yeah, I guess it's like any particular job you've
Right.
devoted your life to. It's more of a devotion.
Right.
There comes a time where you have to take care of yourself,
Yes, boy. And do for yourself.
you know, and then the doing it with the Haunted Bay, doing the paranormal investigation is my way of working my psychic energy out, because it does build up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pretty soon I'm telling other people about stuff because I have to.
There you go.
I gotta get it out of me.
Great. Do you work with other psychics?
I do. I like to.
Oh, good.
You know, I have a group of psychics, and that sometimes I kind of interview them so I could recommend people to them. I mean, now that I'm not reading, I get a lot of people asking me for recommendations. I only recommend people I've actually had readings from, or mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, how could I recommend them? That's how I look at it.
Right.
Yeah, and I like to kind of hang out with psychics so we could talk psychic shop.
There you go. Yeah.
Some of his frustration over sometimes, like, I can't believe this person kept asking me the same question.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you. A person's audio, does that mean anything? Or sensitive? What's that mean?
My audiobook?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
What's it mean when a person says, I'm sensitive? I'm a sensitive. What does that mean?
Well, a sensitive, we could call that a empath now. Now they use empathic or empath.
Yeah.
And so you're very sensitive to what's going on around you. You're very sensitive to somebody else's feelings.
Right.
And it's a really hard thing to be an empath without some sort of understanding to be a sensitive. They used to sometimes they call a psychic sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
You, I tell people if you're an empath and you want to know more about how to use it, how to work with it, so a talk I'm going to be giving coming up. How to live with it where it doesn't start to eat away at you.
Right.
What happens with empath, and I've seen it over and over.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to open the lines, and the number is 702-874-1114, everybody.
Okay, so when you open the line,
Go ahead. I've just opened the lines.
okay, if I can't hear them, would you repeat it to me?
Sure. I think
I still are.
I don't think you'll have a problem. This one, I hope not. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
With June, are you there?
Yes,
I'm here.
Okay, they can hear. You can hear him too.
yes.
All right, caller, go ahead. Your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. Glenn, is a great show tonight. I'd like to say, and your guest was very lovely. I'm sorry. What was her name? Joy?
June, like the month.
June. June. My question is more when you had said that you speak speak to spirit or the undead or the people that passed on. Now, do they keep the personality of their previous self? Does that personality stay intact?
Yes, yeah. They come, and if they're very funny, they give these very funny messages. Or if they're very stern and serious, they'll give that kind of message. Yeah, they do come across like that, and I think it's so the living can identify with them.
I see. Because I was listening earlier, and Glenn, you had asked about if some of these entities are evil or not.
Yes, I asked that question. Go ahead.
And if they were cruel or psychotic or some murderer or something like this, and I was my thought process is, there are murderers that there's something wrong. You had said there's something wrong with their brains sometimes, and misfiring. Sometimes they don't have the empathy of that we have. The empathy of they don't feel the same thing. That's how they can kill things or animals or people. So in their mind, they're really not evil. They're just, it would be the same of us killing an ant. We don't have any empathy for the ant. But now, are these people? Are these spirits evil, or is it just the way they are, their personality? So their brain personality is carrying over into the afterlife, or is it a residual? June?
Yeah, if you have a person, what you said, a murderer, and has created horrible or horrific atrocities and such, when they go to the other side, they're like a heavy darkness. I personally look at myself as a happy medium. I don't like to engage with that. I don't go out and engage with it. But to answer your question, yeah, there's times they just have not made that transition to any kind of change for a while. Now, am I going to say that forever they stay like that, forever the cycle of life? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the interesting point, because we, as in this realm, we have a personality, but of course our personalities can change through interaction with other people and learning and just living life. And you can be, of course, not the same person that you were 10 years ago in personality standpoint. So, but is that alter in the afterlife? Or is it just a residual of who you were when you died? That's the interesting point. I know, Joyce, June, you don't have the answer, but I was just thinking of these topics too.
No, that's a good thought. No, that's a good thought. And
really.
Exactly what you gave, the example. You can start out with a certain personality, and through life and through desire to change, you can
Yes.
change. I mean, I can say that about myself. I just had this conversation with my husband, how much I have mellowed out. And,
We all have changed. I mean, I'm getting close to 60, and I wasn't the same person 20 years ago. Of course not. Different personality, different thoughts, and philosophies that you learn, and yeah, you mellow out, I'm sure, with the age. But that's the interesting thing is if indeed in the spirit world that you can still progress your personality moving forward.
But I think that the real thing that we're looking at is someone who did not live a compassionate life, did not live for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
Could you then make changes on the other side? And that's the idea. Isn't it the idea that we go to the other side, supposedly, and I'll use the word God, and I don't want that to be stuck in anybody's mind, however they want to think of it, so that you look over what you've done and you have an opportunity to change. You could choose.
Right.
You could choose saying, well, you can't go around killing those people. It's a horrible thing. Now you got all these spirits you've got to make amends to.
Right. And some people, and it's really sometimes it's no fault of their own. Yes, did they have a decision to make to do terrible acts? But sometimes that lifestyle was brought upon themselves by bad situation that they lived in this life.
I think that's a great topic. Actually, I think we should do a whole talk on that.
Right.
We sure could. Anyway, I'm just here. I listen to Glenn every week, and just a nice show. And I appreciate your being on, June. And you have a good night. I'll be continuing to listen.
All right. Thank you, caller, so very much.
That was a great thought.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, yeah. A lot of these folks have cell phones, so it's a problem sometimes, cell phones and radio. It just does not mix sometimes. But anyway, yeah, that was a really great thing was said there. Do they know that they're dead? They've crossed over?
Do they know that they've crossed over? Is that what you said?
No. Do they know that they're dead and the spirits? Do you think they're
Oh,
alive?
well, majority of people that have crossed over, they may take some time to get you, especially if it's a sudden death.
Right.
Say an accident. You get a whole car full of young people, and they get in an accident and they're gone. They're like, whoa, what happened? They flew out of their bodies, so to speak.
Right.
That's why we have that ritual where we have meetings, and then we have a wake, and then we have things. In the Book of the Dead, it's supposed to go on. There's some religious beliefs that believe that you should have 7 days or longer to say goodbye to the spirit. So sometimes they don't accept that they're gone. They don't want to be gone.
Right.
Like, wow, wait a minute. I was just having a jolly good time, and next thing I know, I'm at the bar, I'm drinking. Next thing I go out in my car, and I'm dead.
Yeah. Do they see themselves die?
Well, I would say that there's a possibility that when you're up above, you can watch yourself. When I had my near-death experience, and then I was in the hospital, I was watching myself come out of all the drugs from the operation. They had to put me all back together again. And I was watching the nurses and doctors run around and talk about me. Oh, she's in shock. She's this and that. Get blankets. And I'm watching all this thinking, oh, wait a minute, that's me.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it probably was me coming back into my body.
Wow.
Like, oh,
yeah.
Wait a minute, that's me.
Like, I'm going to open the lines up again. I'm going to put this out to stand by. Here we go.
To talk with Glenn Larry, deep in the desert of Nevada, lines are open at 1-702-874-1114. That's 702-874-1114. Now, here again, Glenn Larry. Parank lines are open at 775-990-8275. That's 775-990-8275.
And we are back with June. Boy, to you. It's very interesting. Another question I had for you, June. So, is there a life review? They say there is. Does that happen?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat it?
A life review.
A light review?
Yeah, when you die, you get to see good things and bad things about yourself.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Okay, so my thoughts and the way I'm believing, and as time moves on, we get other experiences, so our beliefs can change as we become enlightened. Is that when you transition out of the body
Right.
and you go into the other wherever you want to go, heaven, whatever dimension, my understanding is that you're met with a panel of the higher beings, and you're not judged, but you're adjudged, meaning they say, well, June, you weren't very nice when you talked to that person, when you used that language to those people down there. What do you think that got you? Where do you think you were going to get that? So I guess it would be like therapy, right?
Wow.
You
What?
look over and say, where did I do
Yeah.
not very good, and how did I do good? And so, yes, to your question, I think that you do have an opportunity to look over that life and say, what worked for you and what didn't work for you. What did you learn?
Right. And you were bad doing this. Remember doing this to that person. I hear what pain you gave into other people's lives comes into yours right there and then.
Yeah,
That-
it's kind of like life, where you begin to look at life and you say, gee, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And then they say to you, it's kind of like, well, if you shouldn't have done it, how are you going to make amends, or how are you going to change that behavior?
Well, now you're dead. What do you do now?
Yeah.
I mean,
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
yeah, right. Yeah. Oh God.
So I hope to do that before I leave this body, so I don't have to come back in another lifetime and redo some things.
Right. Right. Oh gosh, that's interesting. Now, do you meet people in heaven that you know from here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, tell me
When
more
you're
about that.
Oh my God. So when I had my near-death experience, and I didn't know all the relatives that I saw, but I was very young. I was only 20 years old, so I still had my family around. But I had grandparents and uncles and aunts that I never even met before I was born. They were gone, and I saw them, and they were all happy and smiling at me.
Great.
And when I've been with people as they're dying,
Mm.
I don't know why, but I ended up being with people while they're dying. And they talk about who they're seeing on the other side. Even weeks before they physically die, they begin to tell me about who's showing up for them.
Oh
This is
wow.
how I learned a lot of my stuff. I didn't learn it out of books. I
Hmm.
learned it out of doing. That's
Mm.
kind of the way June rolls anyway. I can't sit around and read. I've got to get out and do.
Good.
So when you get to the other side, you get to be with whoever your loved ones, and even sometimes not the ones that are so cheery. You get to see that your mother, your father, your siblings, your whoever that was good in your life. You're met by them. They help you over to the other side.
Old friends, what have you?
So it's not so scary. Like,
Yeah.
oh, come on over. We'll have a good time.
Yeah. Is there a guardian angel?
Well, I believe there is.
Okay. How does that work?
Supposedly, from my teachings, is that you're assigned a guardian angel when you're born. And the guardian angel is hopefully trying to keep you healthy and on planet Earth, which is kind of hard to think when we think of how many children have died.
Yes.
It's hard to think, why would this guardian angel, what happened there? Well, they don't have complete control over everything in life. They're just there for you as best they could be.
Hmm.
And then around the age of late teens or 20s, they supposedly step back and let you do what you got to do. How you're going to learn, and then they come back. So I think there are beings that help watch over us. It's hard for people. This is so sad for people who their children have died.
Yes.
I will not even try to
Gosh.
say, oh, that's God's will. That's totally not what anybody would want to hear.
No. You're right. Oh gosh.
So I think that there are spiritual beings. I think so much of what I'm talking about, even for myself, is beyond my own human understanding.
Understandable. Yeah.
I always say that when I die, if I find out that that there aren't spirits around me, it'll just kill me. Because here I am believing this all
He's
my
so
life.
mad. Yeah, it just was not true.
Yeah.
Lied
What do
to
you
me.
mean there is a spirit? I said there was.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to go back and hunt some people then.
yeah, yeah. Now, can a person do that? Actually, could you go home, go back and hunt somebody?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah. If that's, if you want to me, revenge is a waste of time and energy.
Right.
And I've been there.
Yeah.
It isn't like I wasn't there.
Right.
There's times where I say, I'm going to get that person.
Oh boy.
But then I let it go. That's my
Good.
first anger.
We're gonna open the lines again.
Okay.
Lines open. Caller, go ahead. You're with June, and what's your name and where you from?
Hey, this is Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing?
I'm calling here in Vegas.
Okay. Your question for June. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Miss June, how are you doing tonight? Great show, by the way. Anyway, I do have a question. Well, more of a comment question. I've been a skeptic most of my life. And I think I was put that way because my mother, she was heavily into the psychic readings when we were young. And boy, she spent a lot of money on it. And I got a little bad taste in my mouth because of the money that she was spending, and I didn't really see anything getting out of it. But on the flip side of it, I had a girlfriend that we lived together, girlfriend, and we lived together temporarily. And she claimed that she was clairvoyant, and she would talk to spirit or of the people that passed over, and she did. There were some strange things going on. So I'm open minded to it because of what I witnessed on that end. But what on the flip side, when I was growing up with it with my mother, she kept spending money in it. So the average skeptics out there say, "Well, this is people just making money off gullible suckers." So I really think that the collectively the psychics shouldn't charge people money. And I understand you got to make a living, and I understand and all that, but it taints it when you talk about money involved. I just wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
Yeah, go ahead, June.
Well, first of all, I think that I'm a skeptic too. I don't believe everything everybody tells me, but we want to remember that being skeptical, a healthy skeptical, is like a scientist. I'll keep an open mind. I'll see how it affects me. I'll see it for myself. I'll see if it fits in my life. That's how I look at my own skepticism. Like, man, let me check it out. As I said, I don't like to just read things. I like to do things. As far as your mother spending all that money, it's sad that is part of anything, whether it be a person they go to that's a psychologist, whether it be a person that they go to the church and they keep giving the church all the money.
Right.
And, when I would do a reading, I would tell all my clients, don't come back for a year. There's no reason for you to come back unless something major happens. As far as money, I think that you should not do it for free. I used to read for my family and friends for free. They never listened to a word I said. It's a waste of my time and energy. That's how I looked at it. I finally said to one sister, well, you pay me like everybody else, and I'll tell you.
Uh-huh.
So I think that it's okay for people to pay for what they think is important to them. I don't think it's okay for any, and when I would teach young upcoming readers, do not encourage a person to keep coming to you. Teach them to make decisions on their own.
Right.
And I've had other psychics say, wow, well, how are you going to stay in business? I never advertised for any of my readings, and I was busy for over 40 years from word of mouth. And I'm a pretty, upfront reader. I don't mess around and try to make people believe stuff. So,
I used to my mom. I used to tell her it's like going to the nail salon. There, Mom. You got your appointment set, and you're going to get your hair done, and then you're going to go get your reading. It was an ongoing appointment that was set, and I she'd always come up with stuff, and but I don't think she got anything out of it. Dad left, and I think that's the problem. After Dad left, that she was looking for answers, or and that to me, it is sad too, because
it is very sad.
Someone's looking for something.
Yes.
They're looking for answers of maybe did she do something wrong, and I used to just tell her, that it's not you, Dad just whatever, wasn't into it anymore. Who knows, but you don't need to get it from a psychic. Just live life and have fun.
I know what you mean. I probably know better than you, because I would have people come. I always say they can ask you the same question in 7 different ways.
Wow. Yes.
I finally said, listen, I already answered that. There were times where I would, fire clients because I just didn't see the purpose of somebody coming to me and wanting me to. I insisted that people record the reading. This is way back in the old days when we did cassette players.
Right.
And because they should go to a reading and ask a question and then see how it fits in their life. So your mom sounded like she was in a kind of a depression, a sad state.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you say find something that's in your life, I mean, I used to tell her anything can fit if you force it. You can make anything, any saying or reading, and here's the meaning of this. If you're really searching hard, you'll find it. You'll find it. Oh, it must mean this. It must mean this. Look at this. I found me $1. You can always get an excuse for something if it's,
Color?
I don't know. That's just my take on it. And anyway, I appreciate your time there.
Thank you for calling, caller. I appreciate we're almost out of time. We do thank
you
for
calling.
Have
a good night, y'all.
Right, bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
June, it's spelled Ahern. How do you say that correctly?
Well, the name is an Irish name,
Yeah.
and it is said Ahern.
Ahern.
But
Okay.
here in America, people say Ahern.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah.
So I say,
Right.
however you're comfortable doing it.
Do me a favor. Give us your email address and how they can get a hold of you and get a hold of your books.
Okay, the best way for people to get a hold of me is through my website, JuneAhern.com. That's just my full name, www.juneahern.com. They can get in touch with me. That would be the best way. It has my email and information on there.
Right. Boy, you helped a lot of people, and I think that's fantastic, what you've done and what you're doing. And at your age, having fun doing it. That's
I'm
great.
having fun doing it. And I really like the call-ins because I think they're very good discussions.
Well, thank you. This is what we do here on K-Ghost Radio and UFO Talk Radio. And I am Glenn Larry. And I've just been blessed myself, I'll tell you for sure. And again, June, we'll have you back on.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time for us.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Be well. Thank you, everybody. See you next Tuesday night. I am Glenn Larry. And that was a great show. She did a great job. And callers, thank you so much for calling in. You did a great job also. Be well, play nice together, and look to the skies. You'll never know. You'll never know what you'll see. But remember, report it. Bye-bye.